This is episode number 17, titled Relationships, Intimacy, Communication, and Sexuality with Viraja Prema. Today, Lisa's going to be covering the topics including transformational touch, intimacy coaching, massage therapy, and being a mother. Also covered are the skills of intimacy, full meal, seasoned beauty, a case study, surfing sexual energy for healing, the feminine and masculine defined, and of course, the wellness tip. You can always get in touch with us by emailing us at feedback@thorpeinstitute.com, and that's THORP, institute.com. We talk the truth about wellness and give you the tools, resources, and access to things that actually work and heal from the wellness mecca of Encinitas, California, and well beyond, all on the Health and Wellness Encinitas podcast.
Hello, this is Lisa Thorpe with Health and Wellness Encinitas, and today I am so pleased to have with us Viraja. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Hello, Lisa. Wonderful. So fun to be here.
Well, I obviously invited you here to talk to you as a practitioner, but I think we'll have plenty to talk about as well about knowing each other over the years. And so I'm just going to let everybody know you're, in addition to transformational touch and intimacy coaching, you're also a massage therapist and you do a type of healing sessions. Why don't you go ahead and share more about what you do?
Excellent. And I'm a mom.
A great mom.
And we're the mother connection as well. All right. Well, again, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for this opportunity and to help present some options for health and wellness. And I have a great thirst for experience and experiencing the world and experiencing my body and experiencing life. And I'm grateful that I've been able to experience such a wide range of things. And one of which was studying sports medicine, and then having injured my knee, tearing my ACL, I was required to go to physical therapy. Well, I'm grateful.
You were in sports or a cheerleader, right? In high school?
I was a mascot.
A mascot. Mm-hmm. And it was something really active.
So, yeah, mascot and a big furry suit, huge head, and
I remember a photo collage at your baby shower.
Oh, yes.
That had pictures of you.
Yes.
So, yeah,
as well
of course.
As playing rugby and lacrosse and swimming and really active. But I did injure my knee nighttime snow skiing at Mount Hood. And I had been I was a sports medicine major in my undergrad, and that brought me to being in a physical therapy office 3 days a week. And they let me rehab as much as I wanted to, which was extraordinary because I didn't have to get surgery, but I also got to have a bird's eye view on what people do in that field. And I had considered going into physical therapy. So it was a real gift to witness what was done daily in that office. And there was a sense inside of me of this is awesome. I'm so great. This is an option. And it feels like there's something more. There's something else. So what that led me to was then my internship options to graduate, and I went to a massage school. And at the massage school, this is interesting, the owner of the massage school, who was giving me the tour of the school and the protocol and all of that, when he and I touched, like when we shook our hands, and then maybe when we'd be like acknowledging something throughout the tour, it was one of those zaps, like when you drag your feet across the floor and get that static electricity. There was a zap.
Shocking.
Yeah. And then I was like, what? And that happened literally 18 times.
Wow.
Through the course of like an hour and a half. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? And we weren't even moving most of the time. And then I went to, so I was a yes to going there, and he was a yes, please come, do the courses. I'll support you. And it can be part of your internship. Take as many courses as you want and that you can. And I was like, wow, what is all of this? And in my first class, we were learning acupoints. One of the things I love about massage school is it's so experiential. You learn it and then you do it on each other. So I was lying on the table and they were doing the acupoints like on my forehead, and I felt this flow of energy. And not only did I feel it, felt something that I had felt my whole life, but there was a language around it. And there was a community of people that also could communicate and connect around what was happening. So it was my first like conscious like acknowledgement of subtle energy, and having that be acknowledged by other people and have like a framework for it. And I was squealing with delight. Like, oh my gosh, that's what this is. I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I felt like I found, a home, or, part of my homeland. And from there, I, did take as many courses as I could in massage therapy and energy work. And then I went and traveled the world. And I was like, I'm not going to go to graduate school unless I find something that really moves me. And I did. I found a school that was acknowledging Eastern and Western approaches to health and healing and philosophy of life and spirituality. So mind, body, spirit oriented. So like I said at the beginning, I like to experience a wide range of things in life. And I feel like our bodies are made and designed to do that. So to go to a school where they're actively educating and supporting people in having the right experience for them at that time in their life, or exactly for what their body needs, was like a dream come true.
And this is the California Institute for Human Science.
Yes.
Correct, where you went to graduate school.
Yes, that's correct.
It's an amazing facility and program. And I would like to make note that not only do they teach principles of energy medicine, but they actually have technology that now has proven that the meridians exist. They have ways of measuring it, so it's very scientific based. It's we have some really profoundly interesting and amazing classes. I've taken a couple myself. So, how long ago did you complete your master's with? And what was the master's in?
In life physics.
Life physics. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so life physics incorporates aspects of around physiology and subtle energy, as well as quantum physics and studies of consciousness. So kind of being an academic and a geeky scientist and at heart, it filled a lot of my needs, I guess, as far as kind of like quantifying things, and then also having qualifying experiences of like, okay, wow, yes, I'm feeling this energy flow, and then here, like you said, the meridian, the AMI machine, it actually like identifying them and measuring the amount of energy flowing through each of them. It was like finding more pieces of home and more pieces of home in my body. And then going beyond the body, extending out into quantum physics and the way that things are occurring and interacting, possibly in the world at large, in the universe at large. It was, it was a fun playground to discover. And then the course kind of rolled into my PhD program, which I expanded and incorporated more psychology courses, because I had, around that time, started to do more of my integrative offering in my own personal work, which was an integrative coaching and healing work offering. And so I wanted more psychology courses to support, the life coaching and the personal process that people were going through. So that program was called Integral Health or Human Science.
So basically, because you notice or you believe that people, when they're coming to you for therapy, whether it's physical, massage or intimacy coaching, you can't really separate the physical from the psychological or the spirit, right?
Right.
I'm guessing, hence the integration.
Yeah.
And so what would you say when somebody comes to you now, like what will they experience, and what is it that you bring to them, or what kind of programs do you offer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm grateful for my really strong base and background in massage therapy and being a holistic health practitioner. I've been able to see a lot of people over the years, and I've worked with professional athletes, and for like it's fun, the range of like movie stars and artists and professional athletes to moms and CEOs. And what I love is that when I'm working with them and I watch their systems change and them drop into more of a place of feeling connected to their heart and their body. And then when they go out in the world and people witness them, it's like this imprint, the ripple out effect is so beautiful. Like people go, oh, there's that. Oh, that's right. I can relax more into my being, or I can be a little more authentic. And so I started getting really excited about the impact of my work on people in that way, and thought, how can I expand that even more? Like, how can I really even bring them on board with this process more with me? And that's when I started doing more of like the talking and the incorporating of what's going on in their life, and helping coach them around like things that they could implement to do when they're outside of my off of the massage table and outside of my office as well. And my kind of passion areas, I call it, are definitely relationships, intimacy, communication, sexuality, and it always seems to where like I go, okay, now let's talk about this. It's like the juicy part, and I'm a living proof of that. Of what we look back on our life and see kind of like the high points, or the points where we've had a lot of learning and growth, and like, okay, well maybe that's connected to what my life path is or what my purpose is here. And that's what I feel like around relationships and intimacy and sexuality, and in the form of empowerment in those areas of really being who we really are, and being whole and happy and trusting ourselves enough so that when we're in relationship, or we are expressing and opening ourselves to the world, that we are doing it in a way that's really true for us, and from a place that feels really happy and whole and connected to our body, to our heart, to our spirit, and that we're creating and connecting from that place.
When we talk about intimacy coaching and sexuality, do people come to you for that, or is it something that usually you gravitate to because it's your passion and because it's your expertise? Is it a set program, or is it like person by person? And maybe you could share a story about something that's happened with one of your clients that's been going through intimacy or sexual coaching.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's kind of both. There's I really drop in with the individual and see where they're at and what they need, and craft a program for them most of the time. And the duration of that is often like a 12-session process. There's a minimum, like I would say not a minimum, but I would say I don't require people a minimum, because I really know that there's such a range of needs and what people have. But I would say 4 sessions is a great range.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would take at least a couple times just to get comfortable, intimate enough with you to be open about your intimacy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people are more open than others, but I mean, this is getting as private as we can get.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I obviously can see where intimacy coaching could be hugely transformational for people's bodies as well as their lives. But it probably takes some time.
Yeah, it does. So there's 4 sessions is a good start to start moving through what we've walked into the session with. Like what are we coming in with as far as our history, our traumas, our wounds, our fears, our beliefs. Usually the first session we kind of drop into like what are we aware of now? And then we start working on, okay, what have we come in with, and what's that about, and start healing and shifting that. Okay, so now we can get more current and drop in, okay, what's true for us now? What do we truly want? What's truly going on in our body? What do we most need right now to help strengthen us and support us in moving forward? And then we can learn new skill sets and new ways to implement and move forward in our life.
What's a skill in intimacy?
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah.
I need a tool for my tool belt.
Right. And when I was pondering like what my tip would be, it was definitely, this is what was arising, so I'll share it now. The communication.
Communication.
Yeah.
With your partner, with yourself. Both. Yeah,
I'll give a shout out with deep gratitude to some mentors for helping me learn compassionate communication, which is an offshoot of nonviolent communication. So one of my dear friends and mentors, Scott Katamis, has helped me really deepen my practice. And I will say, honestly, it was about 3 years ago when I felt, oh my gosh, this like desperation of where I was getting to these places where I'd get triggered in my relating with my children, with my children's father, with my relationships, with my, with people I was dating at the time. And I was like, I can't believe I'm not able to do this better. It was so humbling and so aggravating at the same time. And I went to a weekend intensive, and we learned ways to communicate without the story, without the drama, without trying to make each other wrong, without the blame. It really drops down to what am I feeling and what am I needing? And then from there, what can I, from an empowered place, what can I ask for to help shift this situation? And looking at the list, there's this, we can look them up online, even like lists of needs. And there was something that helped my system relax when it looked at this list of needs and was like, every single human has these needs.
Right.
It's not just because I'm a woman, not just because I'm a victim of some sort, not just because I'm a mom, that's struggling to make ends meet. It's no, like every single human. And it helped me see and feel the equality, and my heart opened so much to every single person. Like the compassion just like started flowing of like, wow, the children, the adults, everyone. And we don't have to try and manipulate or ask for, these needs to be met. We all have equal opportunity and equal right and equal, to be gifted this experience and to have the experience of having these needs be met. I just feel the relief right now as I speak it. It's like, it's okay. It's okay to have these needs. And I know I've put pressure on myself of like, can't I handle it? And can't I figure it out myself? Or what's wrong with me? So, letting go of those stories and having, you said communication with who? I mean, it is everyone, including here, have compassion.
Starts with communication with ourselves, being honest with ourselves, right? Yeah. Taking the time to get still enough to actually know what we need.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
And a big piece of this practice is empathy. So giving myself empathy, which is like, wow, I have felt really exhausted and overwhelmed and tired and had, and even been mourning, like grieving that I haven't been able to do things differently because of my need for like support, emotional support, for sustainability, for, sleep. I'm reflecting back on that time.
Sleep is a big one.
Yeah, like
for
all those,
moms especially, I think, parents.
Yeah,
sleep.
Yeah, so for me to go, wow, those needs have not been met, and it makes so much sense that I've been feeling that.
Of course.
And it's like empathy is just like, wow, like not have to debate it or prove it. It's like, wow, just acknowledging the actual like reality of the impact that we've been experiencing.
So, and I think this is probably very common among healers and practitioners that you come to a point, a breakdown, and through the breakdown, you find information and tools that become really powerful for your clients. So I'm imagining that that's probably been a very huge transformation. And do you feel like that was one of the most pivotal? What would you say was the most pivotal moment in your life?
Well, first of all, I totally agree with you. I feel like I'm wired in that I look at all of my experiences with a filter of like, what have I learned from this that I can help other people with?
Right.
How can I take this out and share these gems that I've had my blood, sweat, and tears occur around, and that I humbly say, I've studied and had a lot of training, but like I bring to offer to people like my, learning from my experience from the University of Life.
There goes the train.
There goes the train. Yeah. Yeah. You asked what was one of my most pivotal experiences. Goodness gracious. Vulnerably, I'll say that it was, the one that pops in my head is when I was 25 and, I had, ended a relationship and, we had oops, are we sure we're done experience. And, we got pregnant. And that was a huge opportunity for me to see, like, was I really on path? Was I really ready?
Yeah, it's big.
And the biggest, like, wake-up call for me around it was realizing, oh my gosh, there's a whole lot about myself that I haven't looked at yet.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot about myself that needs to be addressed and healed. And if I'm going to move into being a parent, I want to be the best possible parent I possibly could be.
Right.
And whatever I don't clean up, my children are going to need to clean up for me.
Right.
And it was very shocking and very humbling. And, needless to say, I wasn't ready, and we made the decision to not be parents at the time. And that catapulted me into the next level of my life of really doing my personal growth work. And it was like my awakening, the impetus for a lot of my awakening. And I went into, that's when I started doing my intimacy training work with Doug and Naomi Mosley, a year-long intensive. I started, doing energy psychology, receiving energy psychology work and clearing out past traumas. I started to discover what my patterns were and why, and shift that. I learned to really start putting myself a little more in front instead of like always wanting to like put the needs of the guy I was with in front, and that's been a process that continued for 15 years until this last year. And I graduated out of some of those codependency patterns that I didn't realize were even still there. So like the becoming me in the way where I started to be operating from what was more my way of operating, instead of my parents, instead of the guys around me, instead of the teachers, instead of all these beautiful people that I've had mirror and reflect things for me. When I started clearing that out and learning how to operate in the world as the gift that I have come here to be. And it's an interesting thing that I've learned. I'm not an expert by any means on like the brain and the development of the brain, but I do know a few pieces, and one of which is the prefrontal cortex, and the fact that we borrow the people around us, the use of their prefrontal cortex, which is all about like decision making and logic and strategizing and connecting and seeing the whole picture and making sense of things like that, because it doesn't develop fully for us until we're 25 or 26 years old. So prior to that, we're operating in the world by borrowing our parents or the people around us awareness and the way that they've seen and known to be on the planet. So it was right. I learned that just in the last couple of years.
Prefrontal cortex. Watch out for those decisions, young people. Parents. Right. Now you know why.
Now we know why. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And why it's so crazy for most of us when we go to college. Right? Like, who am I?
I have no prefrontal cortex. Help me.
Yeah.
How do I pick a new major? Yeah, I remember those huge decisions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. It was a very pivotal time, very powerful.
Viraja, you're such a beautiful, brilliant, and courageous woman. Do you feel like being a beautiful woman is sometimes, obviously it's an advantage in some arenas, but do you feel like it's actually a stressor and sometimes a challenge being beautiful?
Wow. I have a sense you have your own experience of this, Miss Lisa. I'm at a little bit of a loss for words, but I feel a lot of like love in my heart when you ask that. I feel like so much energy, and that comes through. It's like there's this like authentic like way of which I love people and I connect with them, and I'm grateful that I get a lot of people say, you're just as beautiful inside as you are out, or I'm also one that's like, what do you mean I'm beautiful? Like, it's been a process of that too. Like, I look around and I'm like, I'm nothing special. But I mean, I did go through. I have grown. Part of the wisdom I can bring in the coaching that I do, I have moved, experienced and lived, using my beauty or using my sexuality to get needs met. Using that as strategy. If our needs aren't met, then we're going to get those needs met, either consciously or subconsciously.
Well, and I think it's a primal survival thing to use our femininity or our beauty or our sexuality to get needs met if we especially don't have a prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. If that's not in place, we're going to use these strategies that come through or manipulate for our own benefit, because we don't know the difference yet of how to do that. So that's been interesting to live through. And at this point, I'm now 41, and I have this, like, when I turned 40, it was like, whoa, it's time to really be a woman.
I know, we both just had a birthday. We're like right on schedule.
Yeah.
I agree. 40 for me felt like, okay, yeah, no, I'm a woman.
I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And with that, there's this like seasoned beauty. Mm-hmm. And not just like the exterior, but the heart and the psyche and the energy. And like there's this like full meal of me that I can bring to the world. That's what it feels like. And I want to. And I feel like it's taken this amount of time in order for me to be as settled and grounded and present in me that I'm one that likes external gratification. I will be willing to acknowledge that I'm one that's like, extroverted, and the impact that I have on people, I have in the past, especially gotten a lot of like sense of self out of that. And now it's like, I'm embodied this, and I don't need that, but I also see how this impact on other people can help bring shifts for them if used wisely. It's like we're wielding a tool. You and I, women, like we all are in our own way, and mine just happens to include this way the package looks as part of the impact. And so now I feel like I barely feel like I have enough awareness of how to use this whole package and the wisdom of this to really bring it into the world and bring massive change in the ways that I want, which is to help people feel safe in their own skin, open their hearts, and create the intimacy that they want in their lives.
A couple of things that come to mind. One is from the book Eat, Pray, Love, where when the lady goes to, I believe it's Bali, and the person that she goes to tells her that she has pretty power. And you have pretty power. And I agree with you. It's not just skin deep. And like I tell my daughters already when they'll say things like, "Oh, mommy, am I pretty?" And I let them know, honey, beauty is when somebody has love in their heart and a smile on their face. And you can see the most beautiful woman in the world as far as her features, of stature, etc. But if her heart's not filled with love in that moment, and it happens to all of us. I mean, we all look ugly when we act ugly, and we all get tired or disconnected and can be ugly. It's just human nature, survival. And I mean, I made the statement to you because I really, really respect and honor you. I mean, I've known you, I think it's 8-9 years, something like that. And as a fellow mother and entrepreneur, and particularly seeing you out there really at times without a lot of support, but courageously doing it. And I see that beauty not just on the outside, but in the inside. So I think it's a wonderful thing. But I say it because I do believe attractive people get judged, and are, particularly for women, at times feel a little bit more like prey. There's more attention on beautiful women. And so I think that there's a responsibility there, is my take on it. Number one, to actually be authentic, there's more responsibility there. And number two, to, like you said, not to wield it for manipulation. So I think that that probably brings a lot to your practice. And I know, I know you work with a very wide range of people, but I'm sure you've probably had a lot of transformational experience with other women. I know you do like groups and things like that. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate what the wisdom you're sharing with your daughters. You know, I have sons, and so it's beautiful to hear you as a mother, what you're teaching your daughters at such a young age. And when I work with women, kind of the portals around sexiness at times, wanting to be, or how are they perceived that way? And it's a similar, like, perspective, is that it's an inside, sexiness comes from the inside. Like, your body doesn't really matter what your form is or what your look is. Like, it's the way that you embody it and fill it. And what are you filling it with? And how are you feeling in there? And that's going to come across. And that's what's going to create the polarity with the masculine. That's when it's going to create the attractiveness. That's when it's going to create the juiciness in you and the aliveness and the vitality, and that we all have access to that, no matter what our form is. This is the container, it's built to hold that. So, that's our job to fill it with that if we want,
Right.
Yeah. And the, I've been so grateful to work with a variety of women, and individually and with their partners, work with them and in groups. I do a women's healing night, and I'm going to start that up again soon. I don't know if you want me to tell where, but a monthly women's healing night at Sonima Wellness Center. And,
wonderful.
And that, with the women coming together, and we do a drop-in and share what's true for us then, and then we have the opportunity to bring some of our tools and share them with the sisters, and we kind of trade off each month. And there's been tears and people having a totally different sense of themselves coming out of those circles. And then as far as work that I've done individually with women, I had, I've had women that have been completely disconnected from their bodies, especially like from the waist down, and they didn't even really know how frigid and disconnected they were. And through talking and doing energy work and helping them kind of address what that is, and doing some body work and healing work, they have had a complete turnaround. I had one mom who delivered her daughter vaginally and had this thing coming up in like around her sexual experience with her partner, and she didn't even realize that like one whole half of her was like numb. And when we were talking through it and doing some work around it, she went back in her mind to the delivery of her daughter. And there was an experience that happened in that shifted, where she kind of numbed out that side of her, from like around, like not her whole body, but her groin area. And the awareness and the reconnecting with it and feeling the emotions and feeling held and safe enough in the safe container that we created together to kind of connect with that and address it, things completely shifted, and it's never come back that way.
I love this concept that I heard recently about the use of orgasm for self-healing. Is that something that you teach?
I agree with the orgasm for self-healing. Absolutely. That energy is, it creates
that is our
life.
Energy. It's like Kundalini, right?
It creates life. It can do just about anything. I love teaching people about energy, subtle energy, Shakti, it's called in Sanskrit, the life force energy, Kundalini energy, and the ways in which we can harness that and move that through our body, and the different gifts that can bring us. and bringing more awareness and presence to our sexuality. So men and women, the more that we are noticing the subtleties, noticing the breath, noticing the way the energy is flowing, noticing if it's building or increasing or decreasing, and learning how to ride that. It's kind of like surfing, learning how to win and how to catch the wave and how to stay on it and how to traverse it and when to swim in it and when to get on top of it. It's a beautiful, alive, organic process. It's always changing, just like the waves in the ocean. So if we learn certain skill sets of how to surf that, we can create different experiences with it. And one of which is using that to focus it on in ways or places that we may want healing, either physically, personally in our physically in our own body, or in our life, or out in the world. And it's kind of like also in a way like programming your GPS, where do you want the end result of this experience to, go, and what do you want it to do, and why not? If we're harnessing all of this, potentiality in this energy, it's like if we bring more presence to it, awarenesses, skill sets, and consciousness, what's possible?
Right. Yeah. You mentioned presence, and it brought up for me. I'm a really big fan of Deida and his books. Mm-hmm. And in one of his recent products, he talks about most women, when interviewed, at least the women that come through his workshops, when interviewed, when asked what they want in a man, and they create the list, the very top quality is presence. And probably more predictable, the top quality that men would like in their women is great in bed. Do you feel like that's consistent? Do you see the same thing in your practice? And how do you feel like you help men and women to make that happen?
Oh, wow. Well, this does depend on also the stages of development that the men and the women are at. Their answers may vary. I'd be curious if you interviewed those women, or did an analysis with them, which place they might be at, because depending on where we're at, we have different priorities and what we're looking for in our mate, when I hear that women want men that have sense of presence. I personally have that preference, but also in that I hear that there's this sense of safety, they're here, right? And we contract so many different things. We are, we're designed that way. We're supposed to know which berries are ripe, which are not ripe, which are poisonous, which are not poisonous, which plants to touch, which ones to not, where are the animals, where is the migration, where is the
spatial
where's the
awareness.
Children, where's the, when we're out there gathering, so we're doing that in our homes, what needs to be done, what's not done, where is this, where is that?
Our brains are changing all the time, whereas the male brain stays the same their entire life.
Yeah. So if a woman's going to have a mirror in front of her, and we want to have something complementary. If we have a being that's able to be really present and spacious and calm, that just invites us into this way of operating, and part of ourself that we get to drop more into our feminine. And that's what's going to create that polarity between the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine. So if we're with a man who's all spinning in his head and now worrying about 2 gazillion different things, 2 million, then it's not creating a contrast and not creating a space, a polarity where there's this, if he's present and spacious, it's there is literally this container that the feminine can kind of spill herself into and fill and flow to and in, and then the man feels really studly because he has this woman that just wants to give herself to him, and energetically and psychically and all these different, and then physically, because it's just what feels natural. It's there's the riverbed, I'm the river, I'm going to flow into the river.
Because he's created a space for safety and security. And
calm and present. And in that, there's this, we want to be received, right? There's this thing of wow, there's room for me. Mm-hmm. I can be received by this man. he's not just plugged up with all this gazillion things, and and that can lead to amazing, juicy sexual experiences, because there's this, again, the polarity, meaning the masculine, feminine, dynamic, which we need to have in order to have like the juicy fire of the sexy sexual exchange.
So what does it mean to be, because obviously not everybody that's a man is masculine, not everybody that's female is a feminine. So what does it mean, do you think, quintessentially, to be masculine versus feminine?
Mm-hmm. And so, yes, it doesn't matter what kind of body you're in, what your plumbing is, they say, but it's, but it is a, kind of a mode, energetic that we're connecting with, and masculine energy and feminine energy. If you look out in the world, like, the feminine is the flowers blooming, the wind blowing, the storms happening, the unpredictability, the life bursting forth, the constant change. That's definitely the feminine energy. The masculine energy is like the directive, start to finish, A to B, the strong, like, foundation, the walls, like that. In contrast, that's the masculine. And how that could play out in our lives is there's, perhaps in a couple dynamic, there's one that's more logical and more, directive and more like the decision maker. Not, they can be making the decisions together, of course, but there's one that's like almost like you can feel it, like this linear motion, like they are just like in gear,
right.
And
on a mission.
On a mission, yeah. And they also have their emotionality, but there's in contrast, the feminine is going to most likely be more talkative and more emotive and more feeling the emotions flow through and expressing them, more wishy-washy and uncertain, more expressive in that way, more flamboyant perhaps, and may need more holding, may need more, reassurance, and that's when the feminine is more in the driver's seat.
And I've been so in my feminine, just enjoying the passionate conversation. I forgot. I need to tell people we totally welcome and encourage our listeners to write in. We have a new email that you can contact us, send us questions, comments, suggestions, anything. You can send it to feedback@thorpeinstitute.com. So feedback@thorpeinstitute. There's no E on the end of Thorpe. It's just THORPINSTITUTE. We would love for you to communicate with us. Let us know what you think of the show. If you have any questions, or even if you have somebody you'd like to hear on the show, we're open to suggestions or comments. We just appreciate you listening. This is your show. And you can also go to healthandwellnessencinitas.com. You'll see all the show notes, the links to Viraja's websites and contact information, and usually a couple of images. And before we wrap up, Viraja, I know you mentioned it, but I want to come back to it. This number one wellness tip that you would give to the listeners.
So we said couple juicy ones. There was communication, and then the other one we were just talking about is presence. I think the problem, and I love guiding and helping people in all of these areas we've been talking about, but I'll give a tip that's an easy takeaway. It's around communication. And I have a feeling that some people that are listening, and me included, sometimes get triggered.
Who doesn't get triggered? I'm getting triggered. I hear people in the next room. Hey, be quiet. They can't hear me, though. I can hear them.
Right. So triggered, activated, angry, reactive, like just kind of maxed out with the particular situation. And that can lead us to being a little less centered, or less compassionate, or less sympathetic, or less kind. And if we act from the
shut
place.
down, right? We just shut down.
Yeah, we will stop caring about the other person. There's a wellness tip I'd like to offer, and it is a takeaway of a practice to keep in mind. And it's to help us stay more heart-centered and connected with those around us when we become triggered. It's called a connected time out. It comes from compassionate communication. And the self-awareness is key in this. So strengthening our muscles of like keeping on track of tracking ourselves about what we have going on in our own system. And when we become triggered, to kind of check in and be like, can I authentically keep caring about this other person or these other people? And if our answer is no, we have to call a timeout. There was a story I was told about the summer camp that happens where people go and they do, the whole time they're doing compassionate communication, and it's all ages, it's families and everything. And the adults were talking, and then all of a sudden this kid runs over and is like, Mommy, I have to take a time out. I can't be nice anymore. Yeah.
Good
right?
for him.
Right? And it's like, whoa. I want to be that aware. It's like, thank you for that story and that modeling. And if we're getting close, it's like, even if we learn this with a partner or other people, we can call like a yellow light, literally like, okay, let's breathe. I'm going to breathe. Let me take a break and calm down and see if I am connected or if I can regain connection in this breath in order to communicate from a place more from my heart or about what I'm feeling, what I'm needing, or acknowledging like, what's going on. And if it's no, then obviously we do a red light kind of break. Or if we're straight into red light, like danger zone, it's like, hey, you realize I need to take a break. And this happens to me, and sometimes I want to say snotty things. And and I'll be like...
When we get triggered, we regress to our inner child.
Totally. I'm like, there she is. And I've gotten better. It's taken a little while. I've gotten better. Like, okay, I need to take a break right now at red light. And the other key in this to remember is that the other person is going to want to feel safe, that we're not just bailing on them. We don't want to trigger their abandonment stuff. We don't want to trigger their send them spinning in their head about, wow, is this person going to leave me, or is this person ever going to like me again? It's like, I'm triggered. I'm going to take a break. I will reconvene with you after I take a walk around the block, or I'll connect with you again in a couple hours, or let's talk more about this particular thing tomorrow, so I can not have to feel what I'm feeling right now until I process a little more about it. Giving ourselves permission to do that and then building it into our relationships gives us a buffer zone, to start creating a new way where we're not in fight or flight in our reptilian brain, where we can create new pathways to our prefrontal cortex.
Hi, frontal lobe.
Yes.
My rational centers.
Yeah.
I'm feeling evolved again.
Yes. Yes. So we're like, okay, I'm going to lay down these train tracks a little by little and strengthen them so I can operate more and more from this place, hopefully initially. But in the meantime, we're all reprogramming ourselves. We're just humans that are all learning new ways of doing this, right? Yeah.
So literally taking a break if you get triggered so that you can reaccess your prefrontal cortex and use rational centers instead of irrational fight, flight, F off centers.
Yes, those.
Go get open. If you've shut down, go take some time to get open. I can relate.
And I give permission to myself and anyone who's listening to take this time instead of feeling like, wow, I need to know the answers right now, and I need to figure this out, or I need to make this better right now, or I need to get my point across right now. And we don't. It's okay. It's okay. It's when we want to do it when it's going to be the most beneficial for everyone involved.
Right. So what's your vision for the future?
Thank you. Well, I'm in the process of doing some new websites for my business, which are exciting, and will be Viraja.com. In the meantime, it's still transformationaltouch.com. I have my office and my private practice here in Leucadia and Encinitas, which I am thrilled that I get to see individuals and couples and do small group experiences in. And I am moving forward, like I said, and doing more evening events with the women, and I will be doing more classes locally around with compassionate communication. I'm doing a retreat in May called Transfer May Fun, a retreat for women, a weekend retreat.
Where's that?
That's going to be in Vista. at a beautiful home that has space for us to do lots of different great things. I also, one of my things I'm really so honored to do is to work with individuals and couples in private retreats and VIP days. So like you said perfectly, Lisa, it can take a little while to really drop in, to really start opening up into these different areas that we've felt like we needed to hold really, really safe and for good reason, and to start opening and feeling like it's okay to be more vulnerable and touch into these patterns and these ways that have been affecting our ability to be intimate, our ability to be open to ourselves and to other people. It can take a little while. So it's often nice to have more of an immersion. So we do a day-long or multi-day process where we'll just go into really deep, where they get to feel really held in a container where they can start relaxing and doing some very deep transformational work. So I've started doing that, and it's profound to see what's happening. There's this one particular person that I've been working with that has just ended a marriage of 22 years, and he has never really been with anybody else. And sadly, he was experienced the shocking reality that his wife had been cheating on him throughout the whole marriage. So if you could imagine, his sense of self and confidence had just been shattered. And he's a beautiful being. And it's almost like we're putting this puzzle back together of who he is and who he is now and who he is as a man in the world.
And really preparing him to attract a much better experience the next time around by helping him to get it all figured out on the inside before going out there, avoiding more codependent or so that's such a I'm going to recommend everybody out there that if you've gone through a breakup or have had bad relationships, that I think it's worth taking the time to get your relationship with yourself. Bingo. And especially if there's tools and services like you offer, Viraja, I think this is such a powerful way to plan on having healthy relationships in the future, to prepare to attract a healthy relationship.
So well said. And I'm grateful for the times that I've really been able to do that myself in my life and help other people. And as well, I'll add, when people are in a relationship, we go through different growth phases, personally and together. So to have sometimes get some outside support or a resource, whatever that is, to help us really understand or take things to make that transition into whatever's next in the relationship.
And to know that it's all sacred. Everything that goes wrong is still sacred. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, that it's all for our learning, our growth, and our the evolution of ourselves and our relationship. Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. Viraja, it's such an honor and a wonderful, wonderful time having you here, and I hope we get to do more. And you mentioned Sonima. Maybe we'll get the owners of Sonima in here or some of your retreat partners. If you want to come back, we'll do some other shows on some of the things you've got going on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, this is great. So thank you so much for offering this to the community.
It's a labor of love. I think we have an amazing community, and I think the whole world needs to know about wellness. I think we're so used to thinking of our medical system as where we turn when we're not well, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, and not that there's anything, not that it doesn't have some elements to it that are important and vital. However, I think that the majority of the world still really needs to learn about these amazing wellness tools and practitioners. And I really do believe Encinitas and Southern California, San Diego at large has a really amazing wellness community. And I mean, part of it, I believe, is that Encinitas is the yoga capital. So it lends itself to people being, I think, more full, more integrative wellness practitioners and offering tools and techniques that are not as commonly known, but still very, very powerful.
Indeed.
Yeah. So this is Lisa Thorpe with Health and Wellness Encinitas. We had Viraja on today talking about transformational touch and intimacy coaching. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.